Hey, it's Cecil, and it's Monday, and holy crap, using my preferred name is like, it's a full experience every time, especially in front of people who have known me as Liz for the longest time. Let's just get that out of the way really quick. Basically, it's okay to still call me Liz. I do still go by it sometimes, but I'm getting more comfortable with using the name that I really do prefer. What you are seeing right now is a speed paint that I did on, I think it's called Autodesk Sketch. That's usually what I use, of Yachi Hitoka, who's a character from Haikyuu. If you haven't seen the anime or read the manga, I really recommend it. It's beautiful. It's about teamwork. It's about volleyball. It's really, a masterpiece of our time. Well, anyways, I write a lot of fan fiction for this particular fandom, and one of the things that came up was Yachi having like a friendship with Tanaka and Kyotani and Tora, like the characters that you would usually put together in some sort of punk squad. And obviously Yachi is like this little angel baby who is like not punk at all, but I feel like if they ever had a group outing, Tora and Tanaka would definitely like take a hot second to dress her up to fit in with the group in like some sort of leather jacket and jewelry. So using just like that for inspiration, and also the knowledge that my girlfriend wanted to see it, that is how this came to fruition. And I feel so weird watching myself coloring in skin because I have to like trace over anything I don't want to color over. Otherwise my lines are just a mess. And I could technically fix it with layers, but like it's just easier for me if I can just leave some things blank. So anyways, that's what's going on here, and you can watch it come to life while I talk at you about basically where I've been, what's been going on, and all of that. I was really hoping to start posting at the beginning of April, but I had way too many things to get done first, and it didn't end up working out, and I'm really okay with that. Like, I think I needed to take April as sort of a prep month for really kicking off my business again full force, because it's scary and I don't always know what I'm doing when I'm trying to run a business. So sometimes I'm just like, is this even real? Like, am I allowed to do this? And I see other people doing it and it's like, okay, yeah, obviously I'm doing something valid with my time. And then my brain's like, are you though? And then I start getting like full of self-doubt, and it's not a fun time. But I feel like I finally kind of accepted that this is what I do and I enjoy what I do, and I'm not gonna feel bad about that or let anyone be like, that's not a very grown-up career choice, because that's stupid. So yeah, this is what we're doing, and I am going to be basically rededicating myself to this channel and its original intent, and stop being so worried about the fact that I'm an adult now. And it's like, so what? Honestly, what? I became an adult and suddenly I'm not allowed to like things anymore? That's ridiculous. If you can't tell, I have been drawing a lot more lately. I have been trying to get better at drawing since 7th grade, I want to say. Sorry if you can hear my heat kicking on. Because even though it's April, it's still cold because I live in Michigan. Anyways, yeah, in like 7th grade, I started trying to learn how to draw, and at the end of 7th grade / beginning of 8th grade, I was like kind of taking lessons from a friend, and trying my best to learn how to do anything. And, she was a really good teacher, but I was not the best at like practicing consistently. And I remember showing it to one of my cousins, and all of my cousins, by the way, are like extremely all of my cousins are like extremely artistically talented, and it's ridiculous. The one that comes to mind specifically, or the two who come to mind are Alex and Leah. Alex especially. I mean, they're both extremely talented, but the one I'm talking about is Alex. And I love her because she is like so honest, and also she's my inspiration. She's why I started drawing and writing in the first place, because I wanted to be just like her. She's my older cousin, and I'm honestly not even ashamed of that. Like, whatever. To this day, I hope that I can be more like Alex. That's my life. Anyways, and I remember showing it to her, and her honesty was like, it's not bad, but it could be better, you know, or like something along those lines. Basically, I want to like it, but it's just not quite right. And so it was like, you know, it has potential. It just wasn't good. And, you know, I didn't really have a good eye for art. And for the longest time, I was just like, what can I do to like be better eventually? And I just kind of like gave up on it because I was like, whatever, I'm never gonna be good enough because it's not a natural talent that I have, which is BS, by the way. And then I started thinking about like how Leah does her art, and she will trace things as well as like create things. So I was like, why have I never tried just like recreating and tracing before I start trying to just make something? And that was kind of the realization I came to in like maybe October, and I drew my first ever Haikyuu fan art, kind of. It was just a redraw of one of my favorite scenes with Bakuto and Akashi. I don't know if I'm saying Akashi's name right. I don't even know if I'm saying Bakuto's name right. I'm gonna be honest here because I'm not good with pronunciation, and I'm surprised that I can say any word. Anyways. And it's the one where Bakuto's like, I feel like somebody's complimenting me. And Akashi goes, you're imagining it. Even though Hinata was just like, oh yeah, that super cool block thing I learned from Bakuto. And, you know, that scene. I did a redraw of that because they are my favorite characters. And I was like, you know what? I want to try it. What happens? What would happen if I tried this? Maybe that was in November? Maybe it was November, not October. Either way, I drew it. And it wasn't like perfect, but it wasn't bad. And it was just a sketch in my sketchbook. So I was like, I wonder what would happen if. And then I took a picture of it and I popped it in my, I popped it into my digital sketchbook, and I traced over it and I redid it as a piece of digital art. And that was just kind of like the start. And then I was like, oh, what if I do this with other things? So I just started like choosing scenes and choosing characters who I really wanted to do redraws of or figure out something unique to draw for them. And it's been a whole process. I can't say it's always gone great. There have been a lot of flopped drawings that I've been like, I don't love this. But I've also had some that have like, you know, turned out kind of good, and that's, you know, more than I'm used to, because usually that just doesn't work out that way. Like, for the longest time I would have something in my head and it would never come out the way I wanted to. And I would say this that's going on right now is the first thing that ever like kind of came out the way that I wanted it to, given that it was something that I used a pose to like trace over and use as a reference. But other than that, like, other than using references and all of that for Yachi's actual features, like, the rest of this is all me. Like, I did that. I created the articles of clothing and the pins and all of that. So I'm very proud of this. I know it's not perfect, but it's like kind of one of the first works that I would say really is starting to represent my artistic style, which I like going without line art. I like doing kind of just bold colors, spending way too long on shading and trying to give it depth, and then just getting rid of any of my original sketch work in line art. And that is what I have found. I just like it's, you know? So, yeah, anyways, that's where I've been with all of that. As far as writing goes, I have been writing a lot of fan fiction for a couple of reasons. One, I've got like a bazillion new favorite characters, and I just wanted to experiment with writing with different personality types, because so many of the characters in the things that I've been reading and watching lately have been like so complex and so fun and have like different drives and motivations, and some of them are minor background characters who I love for literally no reason, but it doesn't matter. So as far as writing goes, I've been, doing a lot of fan fiction, and basically I've been kind of regarding fan fiction as like my place to play, kind of. Like, if there is a narrative style that I want to experiment with, I'm a lot more likely to try it out first in a fan fiction than I am to just jump into an original work. Or like, if there's a topic that I want to cover, I kind of use fan fiction as like the practice space for it, or just like something I know I would never write an original fiction about, but I want to try it out anyways. Or I wrote in like the first person present tense once, and that is not something I ever want to do again, but I got compliments on like actually doing it well, and just playing with different narrative styles and like an introspective narrative or a non-linear narrative. That's something I've been playing with a lot, and just, kind of playing around with things like that. And now I'm getting back into writing my main book, which is the book that I want to get like published. And that's, it's a whole thing, and it's, I don't even know what to say. Wow, my brain just like crapped out on me. The book that I actually want to get published is now what I am going to be going back to working on, as well as all of the fanfiction projects that I now have open. But I feel better going into it, because I feel like before I was just, kind of writing what I always wrote, and it was just like several versions of the exact same story and the exact same characters. And I feel like using fan fiction as something to sort of get used to different styles and types of story arcs and all of that, I feel like I'm kind of ready to go back to taking on my book and rewriting it. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what her shirt says, it says "Nobody knows I'm a lesbian," just in case you were curious, because I know it's not canon that Yachi's gay, but I mean, when you see her interact with Tanaka Seiko, I mean, look, that was pretty gay. She joined the club because Kyoko was pretty and it distracted her. Oop, here's me doing shading. So this is gonna look horrible, and then I'm going to change the opacity and it's going to look less horrible. I promise. I promise. It looks like a nightmare, but it's not a nightmare. I do more or less know what I am doing. This is just how I shade. Yeah, so I go like way darker, and then I color in anything that like would have the shadow cast by whatever imaginary thing is casting a shadow, and then I do that, and it looks better. Yeah, so that's what I do. Not that you care, I just thought I'd explain it, because it looks really weird until I fix it. On the video making front, I have been also testing out some new styles and abandoning them completely, because editing takes time, and that's something that I've just not been good about while doing other things. But now that other things are starting to like be in order, I have time to edit again. I am starting kind of a gaming channel, because apparently 4 channels wasn't enough for me, and I needed to add a 5th, like a crazy person. Wow. But that was definitely something fun to start experimenting with that kind of style. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say on that. But I've also been trying my best to figure out my new video editor and playing around with the settings and looking at all of the things and seeing if I can like figure out how everything works. And I'll let you know when I do in fact figure it out. I haven't done it yet, but soon maybe, right? I really hope so. Anyways. You know, I don't know, it depends, but I usually do that first so that I can start playing without the line art being there so that I have more of an idea of what it'll look like afterwards with like putting the separating shadows, you know? But I think I kept the line art up for a lot of this one. But that's just because there were a lot of little details involved and I didn't want to forget anything. Those hairlines are a nightmare. Anyways, so yeah, I really want to like get better about focusing and just, you know, really taking my projects more seriously and like, you know, sticking to things even when I like don't super, I mean, I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm probably gonna cut a lot of it out. I've just been doing like, you know, little projects and starting to write some scripts and thinking about what I want to change and what I don't want to change and what I want to do better and what I want to go back to doing and just like really trying to like re-find my creative drive and everything that I enjoy about the creative process, because I really started to lose that sometime last year. I think I just started trying to take myself way too seriously, and it was back to that whole thing of, you know, as soon as I turned 18, I started freaking out and thinking like there's, you know, only so much time and I'm never going to accomplish everything I want to accomplish. And now that I've like let go of that, I've really been able to just feel my own creative self again and feel like, you know, I don't totally know what I'm doing, but I know what I want to do, and that's better than having no idea. Something else that has been, you know, kind of making it hard to stay on top of things is my whole just process of coming out. I feel like no one really tells you this, and then they do tell you this and you don't really believe them, but you never stop coming out. Like, you have to come out to someone new at some point in your life again, all of the time. So it doesn't matter that you're like out to yourself and the one person who matters most. There's always more people. And that especially isn't great going into what I am trying to go into with this whole YouTube deal. You know, so anytime that I come out as literally anything throughout my own identity crisis and self-discovery and all of that, like, that's a whole thing, you know, that I have to figure out for myself. And then I have to share it with other people because, you know, that to me is a part of being my authentic self. But, you know, there's also that whole, like, I don't know, it's just scary sometimes because people have opinions, and even if it's not necessarily their place to have an opinion about certain things, that doesn't stop them from having the opinion. Like, you know, that's always going to exist and be a thing, whether or not you want it to be. And that was like something that I was really grappling with. I hope I'm not rambling, because I'm really just saying things, but, you know, starting to use Cecil, I started with that in my music class, my senior year of high school. She was the only teacher I ever told, and it was the only time that I ever really tried in any sort of public setting. And then earlier this year, I changed my Twitter name from Liz to Cecil. And, you know, it gets harder every time I read this post, or like any post that says anything negative about being anything but cis, or even just being on the non-binary spectrum. Like, there's so much criticism of it, which has never really made sense to me. But it's something that I've talked to my therapist about a lot. And if you are anywhere in the LGBTQ community, or if you are, you know, questioning your gender or anything like that, something that my therapist has been trying to get me to talk about and all of that is to just have like self-assurance in your own identity, and to not look for validation in your identity from outside sources, because sometimes you will get it, but other times you're not going to get it. And that's life, you know, that's how it is for literally anything. And unfortunately, when it comes to your sexuality or your gender, that's just even harder. So her encouragement to me was to pretty much try my best to, like, you know, just be more self-assured in my identity, which is something I'm trying to do by just unapologetically introducing myself as Cecil instead of, you know, being like, oh, I know, you used to just, and accepting it. And it's not something I'm great at yet, but it is something that I'm working on. So yeah, teeth lines that I decided not to go with because they looked awful. Cool. Shading the mouth. Anyways, yeah, I would say that's most of my life updates, pretty much. I'm not sure that I have much else to say, really. I am planning to come out to my family, so that's cool. Hopefully sometime this month I will be making a video with Abby, because we're going to Comic-Con together, and it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, Comic-Con. I love Comic-Con. If you're new here, then you don't know that, but if you aren't new here, then you do know that. This is my 6th year going to Comic-Con. Anyways, that's pretty much it. This art is finishing up soon. And I thank you for like watching and listening to me talk, and I hope that you enjoyed this. I added the freckles. I learned that from Abby. I hope that you enjoyed this, you know, mediocre speed paint, and I hope to see you again soon. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment below if there is anything that you want to see in the coming months from this channel or any of my channels. You can follow me in the links in the description box below. Be a bro, share this video with another bro, and if you have not done so yet, subscribe, because I hopefully will be back to making new videos every Monday.